Hello guys, welcome back to the channel, welcome back to the garage. So we're going to keep rolling on the project race truck, our 4th gen Cummins drag truck build. So we are going to knock some more stuff out. If you guys remember the last episode, we got our ratchet shifter mounted, we got our Air Dog Champ, our fuel separator, or our fuel air separator slash fuel filter. We got our mount made for that. So as you can see, since then I got it all painted so we can mount that thing permanently. That being said, I also have a bunch of push lock hose, a bunch of miscellaneous fittings. Some are from Summit Racing, some are from some different places. So we can hopefully get all of our fuel stuff plumbed in tonight and permanently mounted and just kind of move on from there. So we got the fuel set up to do. Our other thing we got done last time was we mounted our battery box. So I got that all painted up as well. And as you can see from our battery, I also started looking at some wiring. So I have the one ground made up here. So I just took our factory ground, or factory ground strap. And I had a guy at work, an electrician, put a lug on it for me. And I actually did the same with the other one here. So we got a lug and a lug. Anyhow, basically the plan is for our ground setup, I took a 1/2 inch nut and, as you can see here, welded it into the frame. So that will be our grounding point. We're going to go with one back here to connect the ground of the battery to the frame, if I can get the bolt started. And then we're going to do the same thing up here, pretty much just on the other side of that frame rail. There's another hole about that size. We're going to do the same thing there, but that hole is a tad larger. So what I did today was I made this. Basically, it's just a nut in a piece of flat plate. I'll be able to put that in that hole, weld this up, and we will have a ground up here to the front of the engine, and we will use that to run. We will use that in conjunction with our cable to ground the engine. Now we're going to see how that all works out using the body, the cage, everything as a big ground. I think we'll be okay. Worst comes to worst, we may actually have to run another one if the starter is sluggish. So on these trucks, well, most stuff, your starter is just grounded off of the mounting bolts to like our adapter plate to the engine, what have you. So we're going to give that a try, see if we can just run it through the frame. It's one less wire we got to run and all that. Hey, if it doesn't work, if the starter's kind of sluggish, all right, we got to run another wire. No big deal. But the frame will be grounded well. So that's kind of going to be where we start off. We're going to start off with our grounding point, move on to the fuel system, and see what else we can knock out tonight, as we do actually have a couple other projects in mind. Our ground strap mounting location on the frame, that's installed. When it cooled down, I did throw some paint on there to protect it from rust. I did line up the cable, and that's going to work out well. I did shave it down. It did have 2 holes. That's what the strap the guy put on it had. I shaved it down to 1 because that's going to work for us. So that's good. We're not going to install any of those grounds until we're ready to try and start the truck, just because we still have miscellaneous welding and whatnot to do. So I'm not going to worry about that. I know that fits. I know the one on the battery fits. We'll probably put the one on the battery on when we try the positive, try and run our positive side, yada yada yada. Anyway, onto the fuel system. The fuel system was good and bad. So as you can see here, we have our output of the Waterman to the input of our Air Dog. Now our fuel out for the air dog, I actually ordered a 180-degree fitting, and I believe it was actually one of the ones from Summit. So my plan was to come either right over here or here, just kind of come over the top of the air dog, or even worst case scenario, come off to the side here. Well, the fitting they sent us, I actually end up using here. It did say on the packaging from Summit, 180-degree fitting, but, and I tried to show this earlier, I don't know how it came out. This one here is 120-degree fitting. If you look at them, yeah, they're pretty close. So this 180-degree fitting is probably like more like 150. So when it was installed over here, it was kind of shooting out over here or into the frame here. So we need to order some fittings. Also, the adapter that I ordered for going to our return line, because I did run our feed and our return just to check. Our return line is actually still the same one we were running before, which is also a -10 line. I was just worried about making sure we had enough flow before, but we're going to reuse that. Needless to say, we need a -8 to -10 adapter. I got a male to female, need a female to female. So I ordered those parts already on the old interline, interwebs, or whatever you want to say. I just ordered it on the line. So we're good there. So the next thing we can do, we can mount our battery cutoff switch, which as you can see, I have mocked up here. So this is where I'm thinking for a battery cutoff switch. This is also a Summit Racing unit. I believe this is good for like 250 continuous amps. So your off needs to be a push off. So what it is you'll pull it on and then push it off. So the battery's up here. We need a way to shut the truck off from the rear. It comes with this aluminum bar, which is nice, except for the fact that it's only like 18 inches. Can't really get too far with that. And why would we want to put our battery up here and then run cable back and forth? Just doesn't make sense. So I got this thin 1/4 inch rod and I made some ends for it. So once we get everything figured out, we'll just weld that into there. We're not going to do that. We're not going to weld that in until after we have our bed back on and all that, because I don't know if it's sticking out too far, not far enough, what have you. But for the time being, we'll know that it works. I might even tack it on there later just to make sure everything's good. But we're just going to mount our switch so then we can look at running our positives from the battery box to our cutoff switch, and then eventually to whatever we're doing for our switches and all that inside. And then we also have these fittings here for our turbo feed. This is our turbo feed and drain. So this is our oil feed. As you can see, it looks like there's a very small hole in it, if you guys can, which it is. But if you look at the very top of the Garrett, the hole feeding that is even smaller. And here's our drain. This is a big size drain, I guess you call it, but it's a -10 drain. They tell you with the Garretts that you want the big drain. So I guess the point of them having the small orifice on the turbo is just to increase the pressure. But you guys can see, I don't know how well you guys can see that, but the orifice inside of there is very tiny. I mean, not the one on the very edge here, but the one down in the hole, there's a smaller orifice that's actually smaller than that of the one on that feed. So we should be good there. Also, I did get an adapter to adapt this feed. This is like a -4 line. We're adapting it to a -6 line because, well, we already had the -6 line. So we'll get our cutoff switch welded in, and then we will proceed to finish our turbo installation other than our exhaust, which I have been looking at. feed is ran. It's not even touching the compressor cover or nothing. Our drain is ran. It may be a little long. I might end up cutting that down, but it is ran. It works. Before I ran them, I put oil into the bearing housing just until I saw it coming out of the drain. Just to make sure we had oil in there, so when we eventually do start this thing up, we know the turbo is not dry. And yeah, she's spinny. So anyway, guys, we also got our battery cutoff switch mounted. Just tacked it in there. I'm gonna actually have to remove the switch and throw some paint on there. But I also threw in a couple of tabs here, just a couple of guides for it, because having this smaller bar was flexing quite a bit. But basically all we got to do, we touch our handle here and off with the power. But like I said, eventually we will weld that in. But for now we're not going to, because if we have to shorten this, or if we have to do something, make it longer, whatever, wherever the bed falls, we'll find out. I think it's going to be pretty good, like kind of tucked under when it's in, and then it should stick out when we're all done. But yeah, it's coming together. We're making progress. It's slow. It's all this little stuff, like mounting that switch wasn't a big deal. Mounting them tabs wasn't a big deal. The oil feed, the oil drain wasn't a big deal. Running the fuel lines and the return, not that big a deal. We had most of the stuff. I ordered most of the stuff right. An adapter and a couple other things weren't right. Have to get those in, but then we'll have the fuel system completed. And then wiring is going to be the big thing we got coming up. I really need to start focusing more of my attention on that. It's going to be, I got to just figure out how to do it. I mean, the wiring's not hard. It's the making the wiring not look like spaghetti. That's the difficult part. But that, and we got to figure out our exhaust setup, which I have been working on with a little pie cut action. So anyway, I got to look into that and the wiring a little more, and yeah, we're moving right along. So anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed. Please subscribe to the channel, like the video. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Get out in your garage, get the wrenching on your truck.